Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spor each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the show. And today we are going solo. That is, it is going to be me, all me here sharing with you all about a very big topic I know you can all relate to, and that is healing the mother wound. Healing the mother wound. This affects so many of us in so many ways. And not only women, it is also very much impacting men too, as we talk a lot about the rise of the divine feminine, which is happening both in women and men. And healing the mother wound is also very significant in aiding us to not only rise more in our divine feminine, it's also aiding us in integrating both the divine feminine and the sacred masculine. So today I'm going to share with you some more about my own story in this current lifetime and what I have done to heal the mother wound. And if what I share resonates with you, I will also provide you with some advice and some tips and how you can further heal your own mother wound as well and move forward into a higher frequency of the truth of who you are, which is love. And I know that so many of us right now, and myself included, are ending some pretty big cycles in our lives and moving into new chapters. So what I'm sharing with you today will certainly aid in that. And I want to start off by saying that, the mother wound, it can show up in a lot of different ways, and some of the more common ways, right, that it can manifest for us is in not feeling safe to speak up, not feeling safe to change, not feeling safe, right, essentially to move beyond the current sort of status quo that we're operating from. We may be in a lot of fear around asking for support. We don't feel worthy, and we are not open to receive. These things excuse me, hold us back and really hinder us in our evolution here and our ability to just really be happy and to live in joy and to love all that we do. And this journey is just as much about being happy and living in joy as it is to be living our purpose and fulfilling our highest mission and destiny here. So with that being said, I want to share with you more about my own background with this. And the most obvious place that we all look to heal the mother wound is this lifetime. It's looking at the maternal lines, not just on our actual mother's side of our family, okay, but also looking at what have your experiences been on the paternal side of your family, but on the maternal side within that line as well. Okay, that is very important to contemplate and to look at. So my relationship with my Earth Mother here, was not an ideal one if you are comparing it against, those 3D traditional societal standards, right? Or what the Matrix tells us, right? What it means to have a good mother or to be part of a good family. Um, my mom herself experienced a lifetime of very tragic events and trauma that really affected her in a really profound way. And she had me when she was really young, when she was about 19. And we were on our own. My mom divorced my biological father, who I don't know. They split up when I was about 1, and then it was her and I for a few years. And I remember my mom being very distant. I don't remember her telling me that she loved me. I was Affection was withheld quite a bit um, in our family dynamic, and of course, I didn't know why that was at the time. And looking back on that, I see obviously that she had been really profoundly impacted by a lot of things that had happened on her journey that she had not processed, right? So so my mom wasn't super affectionate. And then when I was around 4 or so, she met my sister's dad. And then from there, my mom was with my sister's dad for a while, and then he passed. And then my mom was married another, 3 or 4 times after that, right? There's nothing wrong, I want to say, with how many times someone wants to get married, and that's to each their own. I'm kind of setting the stage because I'm to say that, her attention was always directed more toward her partner, or that, or she was at work. So again, I grew up, a lot during that time feeling pretty isolated. And then when I was older, around, I think it started when I was around 11, she began acting out in what seemed at the time to be kind of a random way. She would be emotionally abusive and sometimes physically, and without really an explanation why. So of course, as a kid, right, there were things that I did. I didn't do a chore or something like that, right? That happens with a lot of kids and their parents. But there were a lot of times that she would act out of out of nowhere. It would feel like it was out of nowhere. And I think that more than the act itself really shook me, because I really felt like I wasn't safe at home, because I never knew when she was going to yell at me or tell me she wished I was never born or harm me. And so this continued to go on for several more years. And then when I was 16, I was about 16, I made the decision that I was going to leave home and go out on my own. So I ran away. And I did that because I did not feel safe, because at that point I had been living for years feeling isolated, um, questioning my worth, not feeling safe in the home. And I reached a point that I felt as if I did not leave at that time, that I would not survive. much longer beyond that. My decision to run away at 16 was really, it was to me at that time, literally a life or death decision. Now, before I ran away, I did actually approach some relatives and ask them if I could stay with them. I opened my heart to tell them what was happening at home and asked if I could stay with them. And they said no. And so that was also something, a memory very much that was imprinted, within me at that time as a child to feel rejected and abandoned, right? Not just by my own mom, but by the surrounding relatives as well. They obviously didn't believe that it had escalated as much as it did. So that is what led me to leave home. And I left home at 16 and I never went back. And my mom and I were estranged for a few years. When I ran away, she didn't try to come find me. I don't remember how long it was. I think it was probably a few weeks later that I did, maybe not even a few weeks. It was shortly after I left. I did let her know where I was, and I let my family know where I was. And she chose to, let me do what I wanted to do, which I was grateful for at that time. So we were estranged for a few years. I did want to distance myself from my mom, and at the same time, I did want to know where she was, but I didn't know where she lived most of the time. She didn't contact me, and that was that, right? And during that time in my life, I was on my own at a young age, and so I was busy trying to stay in school and also work full time and have a social life because I was a kid. So uh, there would be a few years that would go by, and then when I was about, I think I was 21 or 22. I found out where my mom was, and it turned out actually shortly before I found out where my mom was again. Um, she had had a mental break. It turned out that my mother had been diagnosed with a mental illness with schizophrenia, and she experienced a trauma that caused her to experience a break. And so I found out about that, and I did actually go visit her when she was staying in a hospital, and then she got out and I didn't know where she was again. And then sometime later she resurfaced again, and when I saw her this time, there had already been a lot of forgiveness because especially when my mom, when I found out the mental illness, the mental health issues that she was having and what she had been diagnosed with, it explained a lot. It explained so much from when I was a child, how she would be so distant, she would not be affectionate. She would really just kind of feel vacant, right? That would probably be the best way I could describe it. It really explained a lot. So when I saw her this time, um, my heart was much more open and soft, and I had already extended a lot of forgiveness because I really empathized with her and just felt really sad for what my mom was experiencing. So I saw her for the first time again, she was living in a hotel and she looked really sickly. I mean, she had lost a lot of weight and you could tell that she was really sick, like mentally and just really underweight physically. And it wasn't like my mom, even the mom that I knew growing up. I mean, I could honestly, when I saw her, I could barely look at her without, I was really trying my best to hold back the tears. And it even brings up so much emotion after all this time, because our relationship was so complex, but she was my mom and I loved her so much. So I was happy that she had come back into my life, despite the challenges that she was having. I wanted her in my life. And so the last several years that she was alive, we did have a relationship. It was not a motherly, nurturing relationship. It was more of, it's just staying in touch with her to see how she was doing and then also helping her out anyway that I could, whether that was speaking with her or helping financially. Um, I still wanted to have that relationship with her. And then back in 2010, my mom passed in 2012, the beginning of 2012. So a couple years before that, my mom was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. And it was shocking. And I can imagine what it must have been like for her. And despite being diagnosed terminally, she still went on to live here on the earth plane for another 14, 15 months, which um, was a long time. It felt like a long time. And during that time, we talked and I spent as much time with her as I could. And she did, toward the end, she actually did apologize to me for that lifetime of experiences and let me know how much she loved me. And I had already forgiven her. Um, and it was also really healing to hear that from her. And she died shortly after that. So my mother and I did, um, the last time that we were together here on this plane, I did feel like things were reconciled with us. I really had a lot of compassion for my mom and to know how much trauma and tragedy she had experienced in her life, all the illness that she experienced, I literally held no unforgiveness toward her. I had so much compassion for her and what she had been through, and knowing all of what she had been through had really also been healing for me as well, like I said earlier, because it explained a lot. So we were in a really good space when she died, and that experience with her, especially the last couple of years that she was alive and she had been diagnosed with cancer, uh, it was the catalyst for a tremendous spiritual awakening that I had. I, at the time, was already not feeling fulfilled anymore in my career and was ready for a change, but because of my fear of change and my fear of um the unknown, right? I was hesitating, but toward the very end, there was this one moment that I've shared with a lot of people about, in more of the context of how I ended up following my purpose and mission and starting a business. I was at my mom's bedside and my phone was blowing up with my work one day. And it was the last time that I felt faced with an ultimatum. Am I present to be with my mom during her last days here, or am I going to direct my energy to something that's blowing up that could have been prevented? Um, and it was that moment actually with her, in that moment, that I had decided I was done, that I was no longer going to live in fear, that my courage would exceed my fear, and that I would no longer be trapped in my life. Uh, it's I don't know how you want to even describe it, like crazy and amazing how my relationship with one person here, right? And of course, she and I had past life connections, right? And all of that. We've been together in many different settings, in many different realms. And it's just so amazing and fascinating to me how a relationship with one person, with her, could hurt so much. And then I could also feel so much love at the same time. So, all that journey with her up to that point, and then her illness, and right before she died, it served as the catalyst to a tremendous awakening, spiritual awakening. And actually, that was really the beginning of my journey to starting to heal my mother wound, right? Because you're probably listening to this going, okay, so she'd experienced some healing with her mom directly. Well, yeah, I did, but the really deep wounding did not come into my awareness until after that. And it was when I made the decision to, take the leap, right? To take that leap of faith, to step down from my career, to move across the country, to then realize that I needed to dedicate my life to being of service and supporting other people in their ascension as well. That's really when the deeper mother wounding started coming forward into my awareness. I realized, that despite all of the success, I had achieved based upon traditional societal standards, right? The six-figure salary, the house, all the things, right? The travel, all the stuff. Um, that the place that I had achieved that from was a space of survival, right? I was so driven and so motivated, but I wasn't driven and motivated to thrive. I thought I needed to be driven and motivated to survive. And when I left my career, my end career, I realized that. I started to realize that. And then when I decided that I was going to start a business as a coach and intuitive, all of the hidden, unhealed, everything, right? It came out. My goodness. You know, my lack of feeling worthy, me not feeling safe, right? Like not feeling safe to put myself out into the world in a new way to be seen. being a leader and an executive in a $12 billion company is one thing, but coaching, right? And being in the personal development industry, especially when your spiritual path is the center of your life and putting yourself out there to serve others in such a vulnerable way, man, most of you listening to this probably know, but that's like a whole different ballgame. So a lot of fear came up at that point about feeling safe, about feeling like I could ask for support without, you know, feeling embarrassed, because I still was under this programming around that, vulnerability was a weakness. And so then I also wasn't open to receive. And all of this, is centered around whether or not we are in right relationship with the mother. Okay. And it can be your mother, like in this case, I've been talking about mine. It can also be whether or not you're in right relationship with the divine feminine, right? Which a lot of us, men and women, have been living for thousands of years suppressing our divine feminine. It can also be whether or not you're in right relationship with Mother Earth, right? There are so many different aspects of the mother. And so healing the mother wound has been a journey. It has been an evolution, because we are all on an evolutionary, right? I should say journey. And that is that every time we are going through an up level, right? Like we're experiencing an awakening, or we're experiencing some kind of rebirth. Like right now, where so many of us are ending a cycle and starting a whole new cycle of our path here, then the next layer, essentially, of whatever is coming forward to be healed within us, that comes forward into our awareness. And that has been the case for me. The last few months, there have been new layers of unhealed mother wounds that have been coming forward to the surface to be transmuted. And so what I have done to heal that core mother wounding, right, is to I've really been doing a lot of ancestral work and a lot of frequency work, because everything is frequency. And I can tell you that more of the deeper wounding, the stuff that's been coming forward for me to be healed, has been all focused around being held in my physical body. One of the most recent healing sessions that I facilitated for myself in the Akashic Records, where I facilitated some ancestral healing, I actually, in my Akashic Records for this ancestral healing, I called forward both the maternal and the paternal lines. I said this at the beginning of the episode, I think, but it's important to also to include your maternal line, but to also include your paternal line and the maternal lines that exist within that. So I called forward these lines and facilitated this very deep, energetic, spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental healing, going 27 lines back generationally. 27 lines. For that long, this earth line in my blood has been living oppressed, has been feeling all the feelings that I experienced around not feeling supported, not feeling safe, experiencing tragedy, experiencing trauma. I healed all of it. And during that healing, my biological grandmother also came forward to guide me and to hold space for me along with the other grandmothers, the elders. And she shared a message with me that I am here to complete what she was not able to do. And let me tell you, that was deeply, deeply healing, that experience for me. I talk about it a lot. Energy is everything, and that's always the place that you want to start with in terms of your healing, is like, where are you holding on to, what are you holding on to in any one or all of your bodies? And so that would be my suggestion for you. If you resonate with what I've shared today, if you work with the Akashic Records, that is a really effective space to work in because you're communicating directly with yourself at a soul level. And I actually recommend that whether it's in your Akashic Records or not, when you are conducting any healing for yourself, you want to make sure that you're calling forward your highest frequency oversoul to be present for that healing. And then calling forward in space any of your other guides that you're feeling called to bring forward. And of course, your ancestors, and any other highest frequency beings that you want to bring forward to facilitate your healing. So taking that initiative to facilitate your own healing, right? If that's not something that you feel comfortable with, then reaching out to me or another coach, or mentor or healer for support, someone that you trust. And then just as important as facilitating the healing, because healing the frequency, releasing all of those energies, right? And raising your frequency, that is literally like 80% of the journey. And then it's important moving forward to have practices in place every day that are foundational for you in terms of keeping your field and all of your body systems clear, right? To continue to reinforce that deep healing. So I hope you resonated with what I shared today, that you received value from it. And I want to really just take a moment to witness you, to honor you, as I know that if you are listening to this, that you are also someone who is an awakened soul having this beautiful human experience, and that you are expanding and expanding and expanding and navigating all of this on your own journey as well. And it is not a journey for the faint of heart, and it requires deep courage and faith. So I want to witness you and honor you. And if you would like to connect with me more deeply, I would love for you to join my email community, which there is a way to do so in the show notes. And if you want to email me directly to explore receiving a deeper level of support, if you're looking for a mentor and someone who is also a powerful healer to hold space for you, I would love to connect with you and understand how I may support you. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can email me at Jennifer at Jennifer Spor jenniferspor.com. That's JenniferSpor.com. And I am sending you all big love. Goodbye for now. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspor.com.